Hello and welcome to the Hospital Cyber Threats and Attack Vectors training. My name is Shay Teedy. I'm with Grand Canyon University as a student in the Cyber Warfare and Applications class. Today we're going to be going over the various threats and attack vectors that these threats will take in order to gain access to the hospital's infrastructure and the data that the systems contain. Now, quick note, let's switch over here. This is just a very brief overview of each of the major threats that the hospital can face, and the various attack vector and the couple of attack vectors that they will choose to use. Now, as a quick caveat, any threat actor can use any attack vector they deem necessary to gain access to the information they want, or to cause whatever damage and destruction they want. Just to put that out there, we're limiting to each threat to 2 attack vectors that are most likely to occur. So that's what the examples we'll be covering today. So to start out with, these are the most common threat actors. You have script kiddies obviously at the top of the list. This list goes from least threatening to most threatening. So script kiddies, advanced persistent threats, cyber terrorists, cyber criminals, hacktivists, and insider threats. Some of these fall into multiple categories. So script kiddies, they're basically amateurs who, they've watched The Matrix and decided, hey, I can hack into the net or the Matrix. Not very skilled. It's the programs and scripts they use are readily available on the internet. You can download Kali Linux very easily. So typically, script kiddies are not going to attack a hospital network or anything like that. Most likely, it's going to be a denial of service or distributed denial of service. And the difference between the two is a denial of service attack basically uses one computer attacks a network device or a network segment and basically overloads it to the point where it's denied service, so you can't access to that node essentially. Distributed denial of service is multiple computers or multiple systems attacking that one node. So the difference is just how many systems are attacking the node or the system. Software scripting. Kali Linux is readily available. It's a widely used, network penetration and network security software Linux distro. But it can also be used maliciously. So that's one of the things they look for, is something that's quick, readily available, that doesn't require them to know a lot about, the underlying computer languages. So advanced persistent threats are usually government-based actors. You'll hear about Russian hackers or Chinese hackers and stuff like that. Those are usually, and they're either state-sponsored or they're state-affiliated, depending on how the government wants, how much separation the government in question wants to have from those actors. Specifically, any major actor can be classified as an active persistent threat. Their methods vary depending on what organization is conducting the attack. So cyber terrorists can also be considered as APTs. All of it's based on the resources, the skills, and how broad their attack is. Usually, cyber terrorists are looking to take down and destroy infrastructure, such as the hospital, the hospital network, or the power grid, or other critical infrastructure. Not necessarily a huge threat for the hospital as an individual, but it is something to be aware of. They tend to use targeted viruses and other malware, hacking into the system using brute force password attacks, that type of thing. Cyber criminals. This is one of our more dangerous concerns for us, and these attacks are mainly designed to gather data for money or to, exploit, a weakness within our system to hold our software, our infrastructure hostage. And then that's how they get their money, is through, the payout on the ransomware. So one of the ways that they do is they send out a phishing email. These emails are basically like, they look like they're legitimate, like they'll come from your bank or from Amazon. And I use your bank and Amazon loosely because they're spoofed emails. The links in them will redirect you to a site where you'll put in your username and password and it'll all look good, but now they have access to your accounts. So one of the things is, like, for our IT department, we will never ask you for your email. We don't keep a copy of that, we won't ask you for your username or password. We have your username, but we can never see your passwords. So if you lose access to your password, you'll have to reset it through, the help portal. But we will never ask you to email us your password, because that we don't need that. We have our own passwords. So if you get an email from us, from our IT department, saying, "Hey, we need you to give us your username and password," it's very likely a phishing email looking to gain access to our systems, and it definitely didn't come from us. So hacktivists, not a huge threat to us, but I mean, they're like, I mean, the most famous one, I mean, famous or infamous depending on how you look at it, Anonymous and WikiLeaks. They're driven by, they want to make a change in society. They want to make, they want to force governments to be more transparent about their actions. I mean, most likely they're going to do something like a cross-site scripting attack. Basically, they'll use, like, links within a website to, force the website to, cough up your data, your username and password. And the same thing with the SQL injection attack. These basically use the database. They basically force the database to cough up the attack, or cough up information if the database is configured incorrectly. This is something that's on our end that we will deal with. This is not so much you as the end users, but it's something to be aware of if that hacktivists are out there. The final one is insider threats. This is the most dangerous threat to any company, not just our hospital, but any company all over together. Disgruntled employees, whether they're current employees or former employees, third-party contractors who've not been vetted by us, and then people posing as new employees who've lost their badges. And also by people in general that, whether they're disgruntled or not, just not paying attention to their surroundings, digital or physical. And so what they'll do is basically, these people do like drive-by downloads. They'll basically leave something in the within the network to activate later, or a spear phishing email. So basically what that is, it's very focused. And basically it plays off of an authority figure. So basically it's somebody posing as like a supervisor to say, "Hey, I need access to this file. I need you to send it to me, and I need you to use your username and give me your username and password to log into the system, because I can't access mine." And it goes back to the phishing email where they say, "Hey, this is IT. We need you to give us your username and password." The spear phishing plays more on, it's targeted specific to you, and the person posing as your supervisor is going off the fact that they're going to use their authority, their quote unquote authority, to get you to go to give them the access they need. So, and disgruntled employees sometimes they'll basically just take stuff, such as they'll download the data and then they'll sell it on the dark web or whatever the case may be. A lot of these overlap, so it's hard to classify insider threats as specifically as like their own compartmentalized segment, when they act as cyber criminals, or they act as cyber terrorists, or they act as hacktivists. So all these require from you to pay attention, to know who your bank, know to pay attention, just to look at the links. Like if you need to look at, if you're not sure about it, just hover your mouse over the link and it'll pop up, and it's like you can look down at the bottom of the banner and it'll say, hey, this actually redirects to, if your bank is Chase, it redirects to a secure website that's a Chase website, that's chase.com. If it doesn't redirect, it redirects to like some akamaweb.co or something like that, then more than likely it's not a legitimate site. So the biggest thing is to pay attention. Pay attention to your surroundings, pay attention to your digital surroundings, and if somebody's trying to piggyback, like with a new employer with the lost badge right here, send them to the security desk. They'll handle getting them a new badge, or they'll handle vetting them and sending them on their way if they need to be. So about threats versus vulnerabilities. The threats themselves are the attackers and whatever attacks they're performing, like spear phishing attack, and drive-by downloads, injection attacks, just DDoS, whatever. Vulnerabilities are like weaknesses in the system. So the most common vulnerability is humans. We are prone to human error. It happens. So we need, as most vulnerabilities, like vulnerabilities in software can be patched, vulnerabilities in hardware can be, patched and whatnot. Human error is hard to account for. So the best way to combat this vulnerability is to, as I said before, pay attention to your surroundings, know what what's going on with your accounts and your emails and whatnot. And if it's suspicious or it's too good to be true, then it most likely is. This wraps up this training. I hope you got a good deal out of it. If there's any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you and have a good day.